Welcome to Spybrary, by spy fans, for spy fans, with Shane Whaley. Shane dives into the mystery and intrigue of spy books and movies, both fact and fiction, delivering reviews and interviews with authors, historians, intelligence experts, and spy fans. He discusses everything from John le Carré, Len Dayton, Ian Fleming, Tom Clancy, Brad Thor, and many more. If you love spy books and movies, keep listening. This podcast is for you. This is Spybrary.
It's a brush pass, quick and simple.
You are listening to Brush Pass on Spybrary. Quick reviews sent in by spy fans for spy fans.
Hello, Spybrarians. Andy Onyx here with my Brush Pass review of Eric Von Lustbader's 1982 novel, Black Heart. I first came across the author due to the mention of his groundbreaking work, The Ninja, via Combat magazine, which I was glued to as a karate-mad teen in the mid-80s. Many of you Spybrarians were introduced to the long format of the novel by the likes of Fleming, Dayton, le Carré, Duns, or Adam Hall. But for me, it was EVL that opened that door. As I worked my way through his other titles, I always swerved Black Heart. Looking back, I asked myself if it was the alien Khmer character on its cover, opposed to the sweeping brushed kanji on the others, or the title's similarity to Heart of Darkness, on which Apocalypse Now was based. Or was it the subject matter of the Cambodian War, which put me off as a youngster? Namsploitation was loud and clear at the time, from the gritty horrors of the killing fields and the deer hunter at one end, to the comic strip carnage of John J. Rambo, soundtracked by the 19 at the other. Or maybe it was the name of the central protagonist, Tracy Richter, which missed the mark compared to Lustbader's enduring favourite, Nicholas Linear. To me, Tracy Richter had about as much appeal as the real name of Lustbader's big discovery when he was a music journalist, one Reginald Dwight. So all this made Black Heart an easy pass for the teen me, and it was long forgotten, until, in the doomy plunge of a recent lockdown spiral, the novel was flagged up on a Facebook page by our own 8th Dan Spybrarian, Mr. King, as the Lustbader novel of the 80s. And that endorsement pointed to significant espionage content. So like the urban parable of meeting death in the marketplace in Istanbul, I considered that all things have their time. This was it for Black Heart and I to get acquainted. And a well-thumbed paperback veteran of beaches and bathtubs arrived on my doormat a few days later. Following the success of The Ninja, Lustbader changed the scent with Black Heart, adding a rich mix of geopolitics topped with notes of ballet and Eastern religion to up the sensuality that was becoming his staple. Unavoidable events in the States have made the bipartisan skullduggery of Washington a little more understandable to the average Brit, and Black Heart begins with a slightly alternated reality, where Lustbader at the time of writing seems to have betted against Reagan's re-election, succeeded here by a fictional Democratic administration low in popularity and at the end of its term. The Republican hopefuls are jockeying for position to win the presidential nomination, and if the polls are to be believed, a Route 1 path into the White House. America has moved on from the nightmare of Southeast Asia, but several players in this moment share a secret past, entwined amid the fire and carnage in the jungles of Cambodia. The timeline is shared between a real-time present and events in Kampuchea/Cambodia in the mid to late 60s, where Lustbader takes pains to convey the cataclysmic changes underway. and the cultural dynamic in play between the spiritual, intellectual traditions of the Khmer people, their martial neighbours, the Vietnamese, and the hateful philosophy of the Khmer Rouge taking root in the jungle and closing in on Phnom Penh, whose vernacular nickname, the Black Heart, gives the novel its title. The antagonists include Macomber, who was a special forces officer back in the war, and now a military tech magnate heading an insidious cartel known as the Anka, with its hooks deeply embedded in the bid of a hawkish nomination frontrunner, the immoral Atherton Gottschalk. Doing Macomber's will in the field is his adopted Cambodian son, Q, who was born into Khmer nobility, but as a young runaway was firstly indoctrinated into the Khmer Rouge, before falling under the spell of Macomber, following a jungle battle which is beautifully visualised in Lustbader's prose. The protagonist, the aforementioned Tracy Richter, was involved in the war as an agent of a clandestine cell known as the Foundation, but who later left that world behind to work as a political media advisor. His client stroke friend and former favourite for the Republican nomination, John Holmgren, has died suddenly from a suspected heart attack. But Richter, along with the hard-nosed investigating detective Thwaite, have found foul play with roots that stretch all the way to China and further back to the days of the war and the involvement of a Chinese Communist Party grandee known as the Monk. A more peripheral character is the Vietnamese, Kim, an elite international assassin, also a Foundation graduate and Cambodia veteran, but unlike his former colleague Richter, Kim never left. To finance the settlement of his crippled brother, who is his only surviving relative from the war, Kim is also undertaking freelance work for the Panel, a European business cartel based in Amsterdam, who, intent on influencing US foreign policy by anonymously funding Gottschalk's election campaign. But do they have a KGB mole in their ranks? That could never happen, surely. Each of the characters goes about their business in modern America carrying a deep grievance drawn from the bloody whirlpool of historic hostilities, and are tied up in a subplot harking back to the weaponized heroin consignment, funded by China and its destructive outreach. The story is time-bound by references to the Rubik's Cube, Sony Walkman and telex communication, as well as the passing mention of Reagan. Part of the joy of writing is the author's ability to drop Easter eggs and cultural pointers, and Lustbader does so several times here. From quoting a Bowie title in conversation, A New Career in a New Town, Q's mentor of arcane arts, Musashi Murano, harking back to the Book of Five Rings, and nods to two senior spy authors. Firstly, Le Carré, by naming a peripheral character Esterhazy. Then most notably, when Richter's love interest, the star ballerina Lauren, picks up a Robert Ludlum novel whilst awaiting boarding her flight to China. Despite Lustbader's shift in emphasis, there are still sporadic fight scenes throughout Black Heart between closely matched adepts whose thought-speed exchanges have the aspect of a martial chess game. And, as to be expected, these are balanced with the occasional immersion into distinctly off-road erotica. The artful tradecraft and scene settings are depicted in a poetic and highly vivid manner throughout, alerting the senses, whether in high summer Washington, Hong Kong, the grit of Manhattan, aspects of green hell jungle, or the ascent in the novel's climactic scene. Black Heart was Lustbader's seventh novel back in 1982. A brief visit to his website confirms a body of work involving 49 publications, not to mention recent involvement in graphic novels. But since 2004, he's produced 11 of Ludlum's trademarked Jason Bourne continuation novels, none of which have been graced by my eyes as yet. Sticky wicket, double-edged sword, call it what you will. Unlike other situations, most notably Fleming, Ludlum and Lustbader did have a personal collection, mutual admiration, and a shared interest in deep state conspiracy theories. I'll leave the Bourne battle there for an initiated Spybarian to pick up should they choose to accept it. Is it too much to hope that the 50th publication will be a long-awaited sequel to Blackheart? Maybe. But Eric Von Lustbader is still with us, still creating, probably pounding his keyboard somewhere in New York as you listen to this. He should be celebrated far more. Despite the vivid cinematic qualities of his work, it has yet to be done justice on the silver screen. Heaven knows what circle of development hell Blackheart is residing in right now. I live in hope that the silent Spybarian, Agent C. Nolan, may put that right someday soon, minus the steam, of course. So ends my brush pass review of Eric Von Lustbader's Blackheart. I'm the author of The Glimmer Girl and the forthcoming Shamstone. I'm at andyonyx.co.uk, Spy-Fi and Modernism. Take care. Until next time, Onyx out.
Can you pull off a brush pass? Send in your review to shane@spybrary.com.
Thanks for listening to the Spybrary podcast. You don't have to wait for the next episode. Join the conversation happening now at facebook.com/Spybrary and on Twitter @Spybrary.